Good morning. Welcome to another Virtual Biz Zone. I am Ashika Townsend, your host and Integrated Marketing Officer at JBDC. Today, presenting on strategic partnerships, how to work the room. We have Dr. Natalie Irving Mattox. Just a little bit about Dr. Natalie Irving Mattox. She's a doctor of public health, dedicated philanthropist, entrepreneur, and inspiration for resilience. With over 18 years of experience in public health, she co-founded and currently serves as the executive director of the Caribbean Training and Education Center for Health, CTEC, a regional organization supporting countries in managing health workforce, and health system challenges. Since its inception in 2020, CTEC, under the leadership of Natalie, has generated approximately 2.1 billion Jamaican dollars in revenue. Natalie grew up in poverty within her inner city communities, facing hardships that inspired her to empower youth, promote business development, and advocate for healthy marriages and strong families. She transformed her own life from a high school dropout due to teenage pregnancy to a respected public health and business development professional, as well as a real estate investor. In 2021, her remarkable efforts earned her the Governor General's Achievement Award in recognition of significant achievement and leadership. In addition to her professional accomplishments, Natalie is a dedicated wife to dietitian Mark Mattox, owner of Mattox Health and Fitness Gym, and mother to one daughter, Sade. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you very much for having me. Should I go ahead now? Should I start? Okay. All right. So welcome everyone to the platform. Thank you for that introduction. I am very happy to be here with you this morning to share insights on strategic partnership, as well as providing you with practical examples from my own experience on how to basically open a partnership deal and close it. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes, Natalie, I'm seeing your screen.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. The thing with being online, you have to be very, very, very communicative so that, we can build the vibes and the energy and really work the room, as my presentation is about how to work the room. So even on this platform, we have to be working the room. You just don't know who is in the room, who would be a potential partner and probably a long-term strategic partner. So just to share a little bit about me. So I know they would have provided some insights in terms of my background, but I believe that being here and sitting on this platform with you this morning to share did not happen for me overnight. Being able to be seen as someone who can strategically build partnerships and sustain them for the betterment of an organization is not an easy task. And to be seen in that light is an honor, but it didn't start there. I say to people all the time that I'm coming from very far. I don't have any big links. I don't know much people in terms of people of affluence or influence. And so I deliberately had to work the room in order to be positioned the way I am positioned today. I say to people all the time that because of my upbringing of, living in so many inner city communities, being at the age of 12, being told by your father that, you're not his child and you have to go, leave the house, find your mother and, all of those things. It's not for me to say them with any regrets, but to actually share with you, to say that these obstacles, these circumstances have actually made me who I am. I had to learn from very early just to work the room because I haven't had nowhere to live. So my mother trying to find place for me to live. I am trying to find place to go and live with family members. how do you just go into a new home and you have to adjust, you don't know anybody, and you have to ensure that you maintain good relationships with these people. So I had to learn from very early how to work the room, and that is why I know this purpose, why I'm able to be here to share with you today. So as the topic said, strategic partnership, you notice we use the word strategic, not just going out and meeting anybody, because we can all do that. We go on the road, we meet people every day. But when we think of partnership being strategic, we're thinking more of it being able to, you have to take into account your long-term strategic goals, your own organizational goals, your own personal goals. Why do I need this partnership? It can't be just to go and meet and chat and waste money and spend time. It must be taking you to higher heights in terms of business growth and development. So why are we here today? So my purpose here today is to equip you with the knowledge and some practical tools to effectively recognize, evaluate, and pursue promising partnership opportunities. All right, so the importance of strategic partnership. Well, let me ask you before, well, I should have done that before I share my slide a while ago. So let me just quickly ask, hope everybody didn't see that one. Why is strategic partnership important? Why is this important to you? Who would like to share something? I want to get the room, because we're online, we can get very distracted and bored. So I want to talk to you. I don't want to be just presenting, but to make it more interactive since we're online. So give me one reason why strategic partnership is important. Anybody? I'm not able to monitor the chat, so if you can be so kind to assist me, my host. Yes, Andrea, please go ahead. I see your hand.
Good morning, everyone. So for me, one of the benefits of having strategic partnership is just synergies that I get that can make my life easier and my business do better. And likewise for whomever I'm partnering with. So it's really the synergies that creates the efficiencies that I need to succeed.
Very good, excellent point. I see Michelle's hand up as well. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, morning.
Good morning.
Can use strategic partners to help scale your business. So your current marketing methodology take you so far, but if you are in partnership with this particular group, it will allow you to widen the awareness of yourself to another set of persons, a wider group of people, to help you scale your business.
Yes, very good point. Anybody else would like to share? See Michelle. All right, so some good points coming across right there. So yes, unlock new business opportunities. And I think the young lady before, the person before, her name just slipped me because I was looking in the chat to see if other people's hands were up. So not Michelle, the person before mentioned that, you know, to the whole idea of synergy, right? So combining competencies, you know, having shared resources, you know, focusing on what each partner does best can actually build and strengthen your and grow your business. So it is important to have strategic partnerships to unlock new business opportunities, to amplify reach and resources, to accelerate growth, and to reduce risk and cost. So you're basically leveraging strengths and resources when you have partnership, because You alone cannot do it. As the famous proverb here says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go further. And we repeat it all the time. But is it really sinking in? Because this day and age where, because your people are working from home, I hear everybody now calling themselves a loner. And it's not healthy. You can't do everything all by yourself. And even if you are a small business owner, you have to look at opportunities that can help to strengthen your business and also to take some load off you. So what can, and for example, if you operate a gym, yes, it may be a small gym facility, but are there other gym instructors who can support and bring things that you are not able to do? For example, you may not be able to dance. Do you have a dance instructor that can add value? Or someone who could, pretty much manage your operations while you focus on another aspect that you are good at. So it is important. It also helps you to reduce risk and cost, because you may want to start a new maybe area of your business, expand into a new area, but you have no experience in the area. So what you do, you bring in a partner who is perhaps a little bit more experienced than you. You know what that does for you? It could save you a lot. It could help you to save on cost. It could reduce your risk of failing. Because here you are with a new partner who has been there before, who is saying, hey, we can add value in this area. The market, they understand the market trend. You of course would have to do your own analysis, but at the same time, you have a mentor, somebody who is ahead of you to help you to reduce the risk and the cost associated with some of the risk of entering into a new business. Any questions on that so far before we move on to the next slide? Anybody else want to share anything on that? No? Let me just check the hands again. No, I'm not seeing a hand raised. All right, so I'll move on to the next slide. So I want to now share with you my 4-step guide for building strategic partnerships. And if you notice, I call it my 4-step guide because I want you to remember it. It may not be new, but putting it into this format, the room, I call it the room perspective. Putting it into that perspective help you to remember it and help you to prepare yourself. So my R stands for recognizing opportunities. How do you recognize opportunities? Firstly, you have to research your audience. Know who's attending the event. You see that little man in the audience there, my image there is showing you somebody actually walking in this huge space, trying to find opportunities. But maybe this person would have already done some research, so they know who is in the room. So they do not just show up to an event saying, okay, I'm just here to meet people. You try to do your research first, so you know exactly who is in the room, what so that you can know who exactly to target, how to target your partnership strategy. Additionally, you want to identify synergies. So understand how potential partners can complement your business. As I said before, do not waste your time on partnerships that will not benefit you. When you go into a room and you know exactly, you've done your research and you know exactly who to target, then you're able to identify those who will complement you. So for example, I may go to an event. There's an event coming up at the end of the month, this business event. I'm into health, right? But it encapsulates business in health, civil society, NGOs, etc. I will now have to be very targeted. I can't just go to this event and just go 1, 2, 3, 4. People may introduce themselves. So you look out for these things. You try to identify, okay, who else is in health? Or if you're going to, for example, the event is in Guyana. If you want to go and start a business in Guyana, and perhaps you don't have any IT support, you may be in health system strengthening, but you may need IT support in order to, one, set up an office in Guyana, or even to build relationships with the different clinics in Guyana in order to get their systems developed or in train. So you may need an IT guy. So what? It's not, the person may not be in health, but he can bring IT support. In my case, I have a partner, Resolve It, who provides IT support. So though that person is not in health, I can, that person support that aspect of my business where I do not need to now set up an IT part for the business, even though we're into learning management system and, you know, electronic medical record system development, telemedicine. That partner will now take care of that. So you have to be strategic in terms of what your business needs are and how the partner will add value to you. So you want to set clear objectives, know exactly what you want to achieve with this partnership. So do not just go into a room and just haphazardly work, try to talk to each and every person, especially if it's a large audience. If it's a large audience, you want to be as strategic as possible in order to recognize opportunities. Is that clear? Any questions so far? Any other question or comment on what I just shared before I move to my first O?
Karen Johnson in the chat said, it will also help you to identify market niche.
That's right, exactly. Identify market niche, that's very important. I'm seeing Andrea's hand up. Go ahead, Andrea.
So, question in terms of, all right, so you know, you have like conferences, or you may decide to do pop-ups. You don't necessarily, for the conferences, you don't necessarily know who is going to be there outside of the speakers per se. And of course, when you go to the conference, there's going to be other persons there that you'll engage with. So when you say research the audience that's going to be in the room, like based on the type of events, like for example, a conference, how do you go about researching the type of audience, or are you just referring to the profession, for example? Yeah.
That's a very good question, Andrea, because that's very, very important. I'm talking researching the profession. For example, as I mentioned, there's a conference coming up, the African Caribbean Conference coming up in October in Guyana. I am attending that conference, but I do not know the organizations that are necessarily going to be there. But I know based on the objective of the conference, it's focusing on entrepreneurship, it's focusing on a little bit on resource mobilization. They also mention who the target audience is. So you look for things like those, because you don't just want to go and show up to a conference without understanding who will be there and how it would impact your business. So you're going to look at that. So I said, okay, so there will be health organization that focuses, maybe you'll have a few organizations that focus on health. You'll have organizations that are focusing on IT, investment. So they have hotels, you know, and start looking at, okay, how these, based on the target audience, who you necessarily want to target. You won't know necessarily the organization until you get there, and they normally give you a name tag. So if you sit within a group, for example, if you're sitting at a table, you can pay attention to people's name tags and you say, okay, this person is at which so-and-so organization, because not everybody will get a chance to introduce him or herself. So you will get a chance to perhaps sit beside people, focus on people's name tag. When they have those sessions where it's like those social sessions where you can meet and greet, you can start a conversation with somebody. Maybe that's not the partner you want, but at least it helps you to become comfortable with the room. You can move from that person to another person in some instances, but there must be somebody in that room that you're going to contact after you've left the room, because you know, based on the target audience that they have described, there must be somebody sharing either similar business focus as you, or may be able to add some sort of value to your organization. Does that help? So you won't know everybody who is in the room, but at least have an idea of the target audience so that you can prepare yourself.
Yes, she understands.
Okay, good. Yeah, communicate with me, Andrea, so that because I'm on Zoom and you know it's not the same as when you're in person. Any other question? Any other follow-up? All right, so I'm going to just move to the O, the first O. All right, so recognize opportunities. Oops, sorry. We did that one already. Apologies, trying to, yeah. All right, open conversations now. So that's the second O. My second point is to have open conversations. And this is especially if you're in a huge room that I spoke about, a huge conference. So start with genuine interest. Imagine you're at an event and, you know, and you meet somebody, instead of going straight to a proposal, you know, perhaps you could start by asking the person some questions. You know, how did your company decide to venture into this area? What challenges have you faced? So ask some open-ended questions to just generate a discussion, because the truth is, you may not know what value that person can bring to you, especially if it's a huge conference that Andrea and I just spoke about. When it's a small group, you know, it's easier because most times people introduce themselves and you're able to say, okay, I'll target this person or that person. But when it's a huge room like a conference, you really have to start by having open dialogue so you know whether or not this person. So right away, if you ask them, how did your company decide to venture into this area? You will know exactly what that person has to business is about. Because firstly, they would say, oh, you introduce yourself to them, and they start telling you exactly, oh yes, we're into IT, or we're into health system strengthening, or we're into etc. etc. So that would have sort of opened up the conversation. But be genuinely curious and not try to start selling an idea. So focus on building trust. So share, do not sell. Because as entrepreneurs, I know sometimes you're eager to get, you know, you want to come out of this conference with a partnership, or you want to be able to say you have at least, you go back home to your team and you said, yes, I've at least sealed something. But try and not oversell, you know. Continue the conversation instead of pushing your product. And you can do it seamlessly. For example, you go to the conference, you're talking to the person, you say things like, oh, you know, oh, that's good. So you compliment the person on what they would have shared about their business. And then you said, oh, good, you know, I'm into this too. And if you're not into that, then you can say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's good, man. It's good to hear that other people are in this space, or that you're doing so and so. Because if that person is not exactly who you want to speak to, you're not going to just walk off, right? You're going to at least say something else to sort of close the conversation. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am into this business. We may not be in the same business, but at least we perhaps can learn from each other. And you perhaps want to leave a card with the person and end the conversation. Then you move to somebody else. That person may be the person who you want to continue to speak to, but do not oversell. Listen actively. Help to uncover mutual benefits, especially if you recognize that this person is someone that shares either a similar focus as you, or can add synergy and value to your business. Any questions on that before I move to the next point?
Who says in the chat, don't sell. Know where to sell and when. Know who you are selling to. And Bobby Blake says, good morning, everyone. Speak to the organizers of the event. They will share who will be there at the event in effort to make the event successful. Glean and research as much as you can.
Thank you for that. I like that point. Yeah, there are times when you can speak to the organizers. That is true. But there are times when you really can't or you don't have the time, because I am seeing now, I've been to conferences and I really don't necessarily have time. But that is why, though, it's important to sort of do your research. So I like that point. If you can speak to the organizers, speak to them. Or if you can send them an email to say who will be in the room, or give you an idea of the types of businesses or the types of organizations who will be in the room. They may not be able to list them, but they may be able to perhaps share what their focus or business focus is. So they could perhaps share some of that. So I like that point. And yes, never oversell. I hate when you come and you approach me and the first thing you try to do is start telling me, well, we're offering this and we're offering IT, try and just build trust. Because remember, building relationship is not a one-time transaction. It's about establishing long-term relationships. So you share experience, share insights, share stories, and perhaps then you follow up to say, this is a good conversation. We can continue this over lunch or something, and you ensure that you leave your card. And always remember to listen actively. One of the things I hate is when I do it sometimes, so I'm not going to pretend as if I have arrived. I do it sometimes. I get into a space and you want to share so much that you're not even listening to what the person is saying. It's almost, as soon as the person say a word, you want to get your word in. But it's very important to pull yourself back, listen, show that you're interested in what the person is saying, nod, even give feedback about what they're saying, not adding to it by saying you offering this, but say, oh, you're into IT. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. What is your focus area? What exactly are you doing? Where are you? Just follow up questions so you can show the person that you're genuinely interested in them. Andrea, I see your hand back up. Please go ahead.
Sorry, I wasn't able to unmute earlier for the response from the last one. But just a point, in terms of having open conversations, I've seen where you can build those strategic partnerships with your existing customers by having that open conversation, just having a genuine interest in your customers, and then they start sharing, okay, what do you do? And they tell you what they do, and it so happened that what they do is something you need, and then you build from there. So the strategic partnership is not just in conferences, but with your existing customers when you have that open and authentic conversations with them.
Exactly. And that is where it starts. And it also helps people to relax too, Andrea, and then you find people just start sharing, giving you more information than you even went for, so you're not selling them, you're just having a conversation. So very good point. Thank you for that. Any other point before I move on?
Karen Henry says, great points just made. People can be very dismissive of others at conferences if they don't believe that the other person can help their business in any way. And Kenil said it's vital to know that it's not always about you when doing business and beyond.
Exactly. Thank you for those points. And yes, when we go to conferences, man, if people not coming, if you find somebody is not necessarily, especially those who are sort of already developed, let me call them the big wigs, they don't want to hear from you. I mean, who are you? So you have to really know how to massage things in, especially, for example, if you want to sell a product to, for example, like a Jamaica, let's say like a Jamaica Broilers or one of those big companies, you want to sell your chicken, or maybe you may be a small farmer. How do I approach this person? Always, as I said, if you know you're not necessarily good at having conversations, because especially now we are very, I think COVID has really impacted our communication skills and style. So sometimes you're so uncomfortable, very timid. Walk with your card. How are you? It's good to be here at this conference. Very good to meet you. Oh, how long I wanted to meet somebody from Jamaica Broilers? whoa, what position do you hold? You know, just those sort of things. And then you said, you know, it was really nice talking to you because sometimes they don't have any time. So that is why you always leave your card with them. All right, my next point, my next O is offer value. Understand the needs. Before proposing, grasp what they're looking for. I mean, in a big conference, it might not be easy, don't get me wrong, right? But especially if the space is small and you would have done your homework before. And you know, for example, this may be a coffee, a Jamaica coffee brand, say a Mountain Peak or somebody. You already have an idea that Mountain Peak is going to be in the room, and you want to at least know how to at least get into their distribution channel, right? If you want, I'm just giving a broad example. Understand what would be the needs. I know you know your needs, right? So perhaps Mountain Peak is looking for another small farmer, you just don't know. Try and, if you know exactly that Mountain Peak is going to be in the room, try and find out from somebody. Call, take up your phone, call, you know, try and find out from their distribution or sales department, what are some of their interests. So this would be to if you know exactly who is in the room. If not, as I said before, still do not try and sell. If you go into the room now, not knowing who is there, and you meet somebody off the bat, then try and position your proposal. Show how the partnership can actually benefit the individual or the company, the organization. Try and not to, as I said, oversell. And use past successes. Share examples of how you've perhaps assisted a business to grow or who you have worked with in the past. You know, one of the things I find that's very, very strategic is when you mention who you've worked with. For example, if you're assist other people waiting to enter the room, somebody I know. If you've worked with, for example, in my case, CTEC, who I'm the co-founder of CTEC, that's the Caribbean Training and Education Center for Health. And we're into health system strengthening, but most of our revenue comes from grants and consultancies. So for us, sometimes it's sort of so difficult to get to some of these big players, those big donors, for example, to really build a partnership. But you see, as soon as you start mentioning that you've worked with, for example, USAID in the past, and you know how you've worked with maybe Global Affairs Canada, and how you've made impact. Oh, you know, we were the ones who started that mental health initiative that came out in the paper that impacted healthcare workers. So sometimes when you mention your past successes, these actually help to spark a conversation and interest in your business. So people recognize that, oh, but it's not quashy. No, man, no, this sounds solid. Oh, this is somebody I'd love to hear more about. And there you go. A conversation would have opened up for you. So this person would become interested now to hear further about that, maybe that relationship that you've had with USAID or with Jamaica Broilers or with Mountain Peak. Any questions on that before we move on?
Said the giant in the industry, giants have need to know their need and get started.
Yes, no, repeat that one, know
your needs, know their needs and get started.
Exactly. Once you know their needs, especially now if it's as I said, the giants their needs sometimes can be difficult to identify, but you have to try, especially if you're in a particular industry, understand the industry, look at the market trends, who is doing well. For example, Resolve It, are they planning to expand, or Bulwark Agency, where are they going? Can I sell them a product, an insurance product, or can, you know, so just think through who is in the room and how you're having that partnership with them can really benefit them. Highlight mutual benefits, not never let it seem one-sided, because what I find can be a little bit of a turn off. Sometimes somebody comes to you and because they're selling themselves so hard, it's all about them and their company. So what is in this for the other partner. You know, so you have to be mindful of those things.
White in the chat says, in addition to issuing business cards, ensure to get their contact information.
Yes, always do that, which is why when you issue a business card, you're expecting that they would share one with you. And nowadays, I know it may be old-fashioned, business cards have become outdated, but I still find them to be very valuable, especially if you're in a huge space where you're not able to be taking people's telephone number, email address. You just give them yours and you ask, you know, do you have a card? That way, as Dwight said, you would get their contact information as well. Anything else in the chat? Or any other question?
Not seeing anything in the chat just yet.
Okay, good. All right, so my final M is maintain relationships. Always try and maintain relationships. I always say never burn bridges if you don't have to burn them. There are some partnerships that may never be good for you or from the get-go, and I understand you have to part ways. But always try, when you start something, start a relationship, always try to maintain it. And especially if it's an early relationship, you went to this conference and you finally found somebody who has similar interest as you, and you can build synergy and collaborate with. Don't let that partnership go cold. After a successful meeting, send a thank you email, express your enthusiasm, you know, recap the discussion points. For example, recently I met with a partner who, they are a huge donor. They are funding health system strengthening in the region. They are a major development partner. And I am trying to show them that we have so much at CTEC to offer. How can they fund us to support, you know, maybe further training or, you know, or continuing to build the health systems in the region. So I'm trying to, I didn't try to sell, you know, I tried to have a conversation with the person, and then I went into sharing some of what we can provide, because they don't have time, right? So I was very prepared. I started sharing, oh, you know, we did this for Trinidad, for example. We recently revised their health policy, you know, just giving you an example. Or we recently revised the Caribbean TB, HIV guidelines. Are you interested in doing that in other countries? So, you know, I wasn't really selling, but that meeting was sort of set up to hear some of what we had to offer. So when you go into the room and you're also showing what you have to offer, right? So, but as soon as I completed that conversation, I went on my email and I sent a follow-up to the director of the company. And I said, you know, it's really good talking to you. I'm hoping that this is actually a very good start. It was so interesting to hear all that you're doing in the region. And let me tell you, donors like to tell you all the money that they have to spend and that they've been spending as well, right? And especially if it's a huge donor, a big company, they like to talk about, oh yes, you know that we are putting in 4 million in health system strengthening right now. Yes, donors like to share those. So you use that as a selling point. It's really good to hear. I did not realize how much funds you've actually earmarked for health system strengthening. You know, it's really good to hear that. You know, that's very, very good. Just try and encourage them, and then ensure that you document the discussion points and follow through and suggest next step. And guess what? Do this within 24 to 36 hours. So you do not have any lag, and the partnership will not go cold. Any points on that? Anybody want to share an example of something that they recently did? All right, moving on. So stay engaged, as I said before, have regular check-ins, share updates and feedback. So in this case, the donor is not quite ready to, because they have to put it in their work plan and get approval in order to move on a particular area. But guess what? Still check in. Maybe if you have a listserv and you have events coming up, add that donor or that particular business to your list serve. And if you are sending out something, you ensure that they're added to that so that they can see some of what you're doing. And, you know, just reach out. If you haven't heard from them, just reach out to say, you know, I'm checking in to see how things are going, and just to keep the engagement going. Is there anything that anything further that we can support you with? You know, things like those. And of course, especially as it relates to businesses that can actually grow together, try and remember that partnership is not static. So be flexible. Right, so I was saying, try and evolve together. As businesses grow, adjust and optimize your partnership. Because remember now, partnerships should never be inflexible. There must be opportunities for you to grow and be flexible and be adjustable. So for example, we just started a partnership with another entity. And they are a huge health systems partner as well in the region. A lot of people would like to work with them. But, you know, everything comes with its challenges, right? So we would have sent in a work plan, for example, to say, these are what these are the things that will be done. And this is the budget that was earmarked. But the partner said to us, yes, we understand you had planned to do that, but would you be able to do, for example, a research with us as well? Can that be built in some way? At first, there was a little bit of an apprehension on our part because we were saying, boy, this is going to add to the time to get the job done. But we found a strategic way. So we discussed it with them. I said, this wasn't necessarily part of the original plan. However, we can make some adjustments to facilitate you. And then if it's something that is going to be difficult, you say to them, all right, how can you assist us in completing this? Can it be done jointly? So try and be as flexible, especially if it's a new partner that you're working with, in order for both of you to evolve and grow. And in a partnership, regularly assess your partnership strengths and areas of improvement. Do not be afraid to do this, because sometimes you're working with a particular partner and guess what? They're either, they're not as forthcoming as you thought, they're not as efficient as you thought. You have to provide that feedback in a respectful way. And it could be that the partner is expanding, right? So there are issues in terms of staff availability or just issues that they perhaps may not want to share. But it's in your best interest, if you've sealed a partnership, to ensure that you check in and provide regular feedback so that both of you are on the same page so that you can maintain the relationship. Don't go and complain to another partner now who provides similar service to say, boy, this partnership is not working out and this person is this or that, companies that. Try and provide the feedback and insights on how to strengthen the partnership. Because remember, we all want to grow. And especially if it's a small business like yourself or a medium-sized enterprise like yours, we're all in this together and we want to grow and evolve together. Any feedback on that?
Kenny said, don't forget the budget when talking to partners.
Don't forget
the budget when speaking to partners.
The budget, what do you mean, Tenil? Is it Tenil you said?
Yes, can you open your mic?
Tenil, open your mic, because I would like a little bit more on that, because it depends on where you are. When you say budget, what do you mean?
Can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Yes, so when I mentioned budget, I mean that when talking to partners,
You're very muffled though.
Okay. Very low. Can you speak up a little bit?
When talking, you can hear me now?
Yes, Kenil, go ahead. I'm hearing you a little better.
Okay. Okay, so what I was talking was that when you are talking to partners, it is vital for you to, and for both parties to understand the budget and the initial budget that is. because that's one of the things that in most cases causes conflict and end up in court. So both persons need to understand the budget.
Oh, so you're talking, let me see if I hear and understand you, Kenil. So you're thinking after you've sealed a partnership, ensure that the budget is clear and that both parties understand the budget. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, got you. Yes, yes. So that must be clearly communicated before you get the work started.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. And you give feedback. Yes, I totally agree with that. You don't want to start the deal and then in the middle of it now you're complaining that, oh, this wasn't what we agreed to. So he's saying that we need to, once we form a partnership and we're going to work together, then both parties must understand the budget and know what they're working with. Any other point on maintaining relationships?
I'll be truthful.
Thank you for that point, Kenil, because you're very muffled and low, but I think your point was made. Any other point or suggestions about how to maintain relationships? It's 54 of us online, you know, we should be speaking out a little bit more. This is an opportunity for us too to, you know, say who we are in the room. It's a good space to share who you are. Never be afraid to speak up. I know sometimes people will say, oh, you're so enough. You know, you're enough. Or everywhere you go, I see you. You listen, you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, you must be enough. You must speak up about what every opportunity you get. See, now I'm opening the floor. It's 54 people online. You don't know who is in that room, who is in that space right now, who is able to hear what your business is about and hear how you speak and just decide to reach out to JBDC or to even reach out to you privately in the chat. So yes, I see Rochelle's hand is up. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Maka. Right, so to add to what you were saying about maintaining relationships, I believe it is really actually the most important factor because in maintaining relationships, it also helps individuals to build their network. In doing so, it's important that we remain transparent and also have a level of accountability. Because that also determines the type of relationship and how strong that relationship will be from now or next 50 years down the line. So as business persons, no matter the size of the business, it's important that we have good communication, accountability, and transparency in dealing with even self and also in dealing with others.
Yes, totally agree with that, Rochelle. So Rochelle said, ensure transparency and accountability. And especially, as she said, it doesn't matter the type of business, you know. So whether it be that you have a partnership with a donor or another, or the government or another business. So whether it be, you know, any relationship at all, ensure that you are transparent. If you, whatever you set out to do, ensure that that is what you do. Do not promise something and know that you cannot produce it, or else that is going to definitely damage the relationship. And if you have heard or if you've made an error in your judgment or your calculation, perhaps as Kenny said with the budget or anything, communicate that to the partner. Communicate that and be clear. You know, share that you've made an error, your judgment wasn't right. Is there a way that we can discuss the budget and make some changes to it? Because based on the budget, that may not be able to get the job done. So it's always important to communicate with the partner and be transparent, as Rochelle said, so that you can maintain the relationship. Nothing hurts a relationship more than if you try to be dishonest, you know, and if you lack integrity. So those are good, very good points, Rochelle. Thank you for that. All right, so let us talk about some practical tips now for working the room. So firstly, practice your elevator pitch. And your elevator pitch pretty much would include, first of all, maybe a quick synopsis of who you are personally. Perhaps you could mention a little bit about you and what and who you are for the organization. So the organization name, who you are, and speak specifically to what the organization offers. And it doesn't mean you're going to rush through this in a minute. I remember I went to a conference in the OECS, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't understand this whole because I was a little bit nervous. So I tried to rush through an elevator pitch with a donor. So so I remember my somebody had said to me, oh, just go up to that donor and in a minute tell them exactly what you want to do. And I just started reeling, just reeling things off my tongue. I'm Natalie Irving Mattox, and I'm here for this, that, and this is what CTEC does. At the end of it, I felt burnt out. And then guess what? You could see the donor nodding his head saying, okay, but perhaps did not hear much of what I was sharing because it was done so rushy, which is why practice is important. Practicing what your organization has to offer is important. That way you can have a seamless discussion. I prefer a discussion rather than trying to just so if I'd gone up to the donor, how are you? Good to meet you. Your presentation was good. I'm Natalie Irving Mattox from CTEC, and I'm happy to be here. I'm actually presenting today or this afternoon, or I've presented, and then you share, you just have a conversation. You don't have to rush it through. And especially if you're not someone who likes to speak up in public or to even talk to people, you have to measure the information that you give to them. Do it slowly. You don't have to do it at once. Allow the person to say something and then say, oh, yes, CTEC actually offers, can support you in health system strengthening. You know that CTEC actually does clinical mentoring as well. And so that's an area, based on your area of focus for the OECS, that's an area where CTEC can add value. So that sort of way. So it's not like you're on a pitch competition and you just start reeling everything off your tongue. That can be a little bit distracting and nerve-wracking, if you get the point I'm trying to make. In addition to that, prepare relevant questions. So be prepared, have your things. And you can even have things jot down on a piece of paper, not on your phone, because sometimes in the middle of your conversation, once you take up your phone, it can be a little bit distracting. So right away, the person you're speaking to may be turned off. So have a little piece of paper in your hand and you make some points. So you're not going to be reading now, but just glimpse on it to see what are some of the questions that you came prepared to ask. If, for example, if it's a donor if it's a government entity you're trying to sell something to, more than likely they are going to make you meet with the PS and perhaps put you in a room to sit down, right? So in that case, you may have things nicely laid out on a piece of paper and you just glance on it. And even if you're standing with the person, you can just look at the paper briefly and share your questions. And a good way to get you relaxed is to ask questions first, rather than you trying to sell something. And as I said before, always have your business cards on hand. Do not think that this is too old school. It's one of the most effective way of at least starting a partnership, because that way you get the person, you give the person the card, they may be traveling there some time to look at it, as well as that's how you can also ask for their business card so that you can keep in touch. So never think that business card not needed anymore. We don't need it. Very relevant. Let me just pause to ask if there are any questions on this slide or anything that you would like to share. How have you approached your elevator pitch in the past? Who would like to share that? Go ahead, Andrea. Go ahead with your question, Andrea, or your comment or your point.
So Natalie, I guess it's two contexts, right? Because if I'm at a conference, I'm not going to go with an elevator pitch that is more very structured, right? I'm having a conversation based on what you said earlier. If I'm being introduced in a team or as part of a program, then that's where I have a elevator pitch that is more formal.
Right.
So in the context where you're saying to work the room, right? I'm not expecting that I'm in a setting that requires that formal pitch, but it's
Exactly.
more having conversation and just getting to know the person and what they're about and their business, and likewise sharing mine. So I
Mhm.
guess it's more of a clarification from you.
Mhm.
When you say to work the room, have a short, crisp, and effective. If that is the context you're putting to use within those conference setting, or is that more the formal where you're actually asked to introduce yourself?
Right. So I said it's actually twofold, as you have said, Andrea. And I gave you an example of when I actually went to a meeting in the OECS, and I was meeting with a potential donor, and the room was a little bit busy, and I just started an elevator 1-minute pitch. And I was actually giving that example to say it was a little bit inappropriate because the space was a little bit busy. You're trying to, get to and to stand there trying to give a formal pitch, and rushing through was uncomfortable. So I'm suggesting that in a situation like that, you try and just have a conversation. An elevator pitch doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to stand up for a minute and rush through something. It means to be prepared with your background of your company and yourself to be able to share in that conversation exactly what is it that your business has to offer and what do you expect to get out of that conversation. So have that in the back of your mind. So practice that. So your elevator pitch doesn't mean that you're going to stand up for a minute and pitch. It means to be prepared and armed with the knowledge so that you can be flexible and adapt to any changing environment. So whether it be a busy environment, you're still speaking about your company and what you have to offer, but it's not being done in a formal way, as you've mentioned. And of course, if you're invited to speak, then you're always armed with the information to speak to their company and what you have to offer without necessarily, buckling under the pressure, because nerves can really chip in. So if you practice, the long and short of it is to practice your pitch so that you can adapt it to any environment that you find yourself in. Is that a little clearer?
Yes, and just a question for you in terms of, I know there's no one size that fits all. And I've seen where when persons have done their elevator pitch, some persons add like personal touch to it, right? For example, they might say that, I'm a mother, etc. Right? Do you have, based on your experience, what you find works best in terms of the key points that you want to mention? I heard you mention, what your business has to offer, which is general, right? Is there any other key points that you would say, okay, this is best to add? And then are there any key points that saying, okay, stay away from it because it does not necessarily allow you to show up as the professional that person is looking for?
Right. I like that. I like that question. I try to be a little bit careful how I share very personal information, especially if I don't know the person. For example, I don't want to say, oh, I'm a mother and I have 3 kids, and the person doesn't have kids. You understand? So then you start the conversation and you start reeling out that to a potential partner. That person may not be able to reciprocate to say, oh, yes, I also have kids. So you don't know the person. I would think if you know the person, or if you know of the person and know the person's background or have an idea, because you have partners who you've never met, but you know of them. They perhaps spoke at an event, mentioned their kids or mentioned their spouse. Then yes, at the end of it, you could personalize it to say, oh, it was good to know that you also have a dog or a cat, or you love animals, because I see people on Instagram, Facebook posting animals all the time. So that's a good way to personalize it if you've seen that. oh, I realize you love animals. I also have a cat or a dog. I love animals too. And that can also help to soften the tone of the conversation. But try and stay away from very personal things that you don't know about. What another easy thing that I think works for me personally, and you have to be genuine. Now, if the person has on a jacket or an outfit that is really nice, don't lie now. So you don't know anything about this person, and you've spoken about the company, or you've shared ideas about who you are, and they've shared. Perhaps a nice way could be, oh, I really like that jacket. It suits you, and not being overly friendly now, but just to say it suits you. And if it's somebody who is a little bit more on the down-to-earth side, like for example, you meet a musician. The musicians tend to be a little bit more on the down-to-earth side, right? And you perhaps want to form a relationship with that musician. Bro, that shoes there, Clark's mad. That Clark's really suits your man. It look good. So you have to sort of understand who is it that you are talking to. But try and stay away from those sensitive topics, like about kids or marriage or, spouse, or, things like those, unless you know the person well. Any comment on that? Anybody else want to share something on that? Or
Yes, we have quite a few comments in the chat.
go ahead and read those out from
Bobby Blake says, very important to watch your body language and be cognizant of cultural issues. Example, watch when you're handing your business cards to Asian, make sure to use both hands to hand over your business cards. Also, firm handshakes, just some points when you work in the room. And we have also update your online platform. Don't be a bucket of stuff without value. That's what Kenny Lewis had to say. Remember your brand policy, don't sell out for one sale. And Bobby Blake also said, utilize current affairs, congratulate a new contact on success, maybe the related organization has achieved. Is there a shared commonality, maybe an alma mater? Dwight says, show recognition and acknowledgements and compliments, concerning partners that you will learn of through various media channels.
any other point? Or but somebody, you said one person mentioned a firm shake hand. Can I just touch on that a little bit? These days, now, you have to be so careful with your gestures, honestly, because in the past, people were very comfortable with a firm shake hand. Now, it's been questioned, and COVID has actually changed the landscape quite a bit. Because I have seen you reach out to people now with a firm shake hand and they're just giving you the elbow. So things like those, you want to still be a little bit more mindful, because the firm shake hand would have perhaps been something that we've heard in the past and we tried to work with, but now with COVID and people are afraid to touch your hands, try and, maybe touch your fist or your elbow, things like those. Because I realize people have become very, very uncomfortable with the touching. So try not to touch people too much these days, based on, honestly, COVID has actually made that a little bit uncomfortable for us. So be mindful of that. And yes, the point, show recognition and compliment, I mentioned that before. That's a good way to add the personal touch, as Andrea and I would have sort of brought up, and compliment. So that is why it's so important to, especially if you know the partner, find out what the company's achievements are, or what if they've had a personal achievement. Perhaps, when they do your doctorate or your MBA, you see people posting it on their LinkedIn. You can find out a lot of things now about people on social media. But if you do not know the partner at all, then of course you try and make it as the conversation as professional, and just stick to certain things. You're not talking about your company, hearing a little bit more from what the person is saying before you get into anything personal. All right. So just checking if there's anything else in the chat, or if anybody has anything else to share before we move.
Johnson says that's a very good suggestion, as I have seen where someone mentioned a child and the other ran off because she had just lost a child to a car accident.
Exactly my point. Yeah, man, we have to be mindful of these personal things, because you don't know what people are going through, and you do not want to turn off somebody with a personal you know, by sharing something personal that they are probably not comfortable with at the time. So yes, I totally agree. I'm seeing Robin Miller's hand. Robin, please open your mic and speak.
Yes, good morning. There's a bit of noise in my background, so I apologize for that.
Mm-hmm.
Just to add to that, the discussion we've been having, I think there is very often a thin line between sharing a personal story versus a private story. So I generally tell people, share a personal story, not a private story. I think too often it moves into the realm of private, it being a private story, yes, so that it begins to have the person on the other end question just how much you would share in other settings, you know, and to also question just whether it is all about business, you know, how
Yes,
professional you are. So it's these are the things I think one has to pay attention to.
that's right. That is so true. Very, very mindful. And especially now, I don't know, as I said, Robin, COVID has really changed the landscape. So people have become so cagey. So, you know, because we haven't been interacting, it's now people are actually opening up a little bit more, willing to still to go out to meet people, because it has affected how we socialize, how we interact, you know. So the post-traumatic stress continues. So we have to be mindful or we get a little bit too personal. So thank you for that point, Robin. Anything else in the chat before we move on? No? All right. So how have you used the room approach to secure a partnership in the past? So, and just to mention again, the room approach, how have you recognized, open, offer, and maintain? So anybody wants to share based on what we've discussed, how have they utilized the room approach in the past? Maybe just give us an example. How have you, worked the room and actually secured a partnership? What have you done? And do you still have that relationship today? Or how did that partnership actually benefited you? Anybody wants to share?
Kenil has something in the chat. He says, control your emotion also. Some persons have laughter that's very loud or touching when talking. The spouse might be there.
Yeah, what might be there? Your spouse? Oh gosh. Can you say your spouse? Can you repeat that for me? I didn't hear.
He says the spouse might be there.
Right, that is true. And I'm somebody too, Kenil, who like to laugh and laugh out. So that is a very, 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 very good point. So, let's discuss now let me hear some practical example. How have you recognized opportunities, have open conversations, offer value, and maintain relationships in the past? How have you utilized the room approach? And remember to say which organization or which company you are from or you represent. Don't tell me people are getting shy on me. I can't be the one doing all the talking, even though I wasn't really, because I got a few good feedback. I see Andrea, Michelle, Kenil, and others, Robin. But let me hear some practical examples. Nobody?
Kenil in the chat says, be true to yourself, true to others, and true to God, from Gamesley.
Mm-hmm. You know, who else?
You can go ahead.
Okay, right. So I'm going to share an example. So as I mentioned, and as would have shared on from my bio, my organization is the Caribbean Training and Education Center for Health, CTEC, and we offer solutions to develop the health systems, as well as to develop the health workforce, the healthcare workforce. We also partner with academic, civil society, and government institutions, especially the Ministry of Health, to support and to build strong health systems across the region. We also support the response to chronic diseases, including non-communicable diseases and communicable diseases. And I would just say emerging diseases on a whole, because when COVID came in, nobody knew of COVID, but we were able to offer trainings, offer support, technical assistance to the government to support the COVID-19 response. Recently, so 3 years ago, I attended a partnership event in Seattle. Now, someone from who used to work with the World Bank was actually at that event. And I remember sharing in the room. So they were asking questions, and I decided to share how CTEC has been partnering with governments to, well, I think I spoke specifically to the Jamaica Ministry of Health, how we have been partnering with them to support the response to chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases in particular. And so once I started sharing that and saying how we utilize our resources and expertise in fighting HIV for non-communicable diseases, it sparked interest in the room. So at the end of it, there was somebody from World Bank. So I went over to the person and I started talking to him. He was quite receptive. And I remember leaving a card. So I would have shared a little bit about CTEC, and he said, oh, it's interesting. I'm actually from the World Bank, and you know, we have been doing work. Well, I am now an advisor, and we are doing some work in the region. He started mentioning, you know, like Brazil and the OECS and so on. Anyways, I left my card and I took his card, and I remember, I don't think I took the card and I put the information in my phone. So I saved the number and the email address. And then I reached out, but I noticed as soon as I left that room, he actually went onto my Twitter account and started following me. So I started following him back, because this is why I said the card is old fashioned, but at least you have it. But then the good thing is now we have social media platforms. So you use up your social media, you know, you ensure that your information is current, even about yourself personally. And be careful what you share on social media, because now, especially if you're running a business or you're leading an organization, you've now become a public figure, because you don't know when you'll be called up on, and people look at those things. So just recently, like about a few months ago, so that was almost 3 years ago that I spoke to this man. Nothing came out of that really, except every time he posts something on Twitter, I'll either like it, or if it's something to repost, I'll repost, and vice versa. But just recently, somebody reached out to me to say that they are reaching out. They recognize that we are one of the few, at least he said, you're the only organization in the region that is offering what you're offering. That's what the person said. And we were introduced by, and when he mentioned how he got the info, and then he said, we went on the website, I said, haha, by an advisor from the World Bank. I said, whoa, look at that. And I went on your website and we found this information, you know, and he started sharing. And right now, we are about to partner on a $5.4 million US project. This wasn't the person in the room that I met, but just by asking questions in that at that conference and mentioning, because I'm very strategic, you know, every time I'm about to ask a question, I'm very strategic. I mention CTEC. Oh, I'm from the Caribbean Training and Education Center for Health, CTEC. We're developing health systems in the region and supporting health workforce development. And I asked my question, because guess what? You won't be able to work that entire room But just by asking a question, you've made yourself visible. And that's a strategic approach. You see what I mean? So because you may not know everybody, and there goes a partnership. So somebody would have mentioned us to say, oh, this person, because the World Bank advisor, as I told you, is the person I met. Not the person now who is telling us that, oh, somebody from the World Bank went on your website. What I'm saying is sometimes your partnership might not come from somebody directly in the room, but somebody may very well refer you to someone else. So you have to be strategic and know how you are sharing information and be very, very careful with your social media platform, because right away he went on mine just to perhaps see, okay, what this person, are they really offering what they said that they're offering? And then I'm sure he would have went on CTEC social media platform and saw a lot about us as well. So that's one example from me. Anybody wants to share another example of how they would have utilized the room approach, recognize opportunity, open conversation, offer value, and maintain the room? Go ahead for me, please.
I said, I think Dwight has something to say. Dwight, can you unmute now?
All right, good. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, so I'm Dwight Ferguson from Sesco Limited. And pretty much we bring solutions to the building and construction industry in Jamaica and across the region, actually. And additionally, we support, in addition to the building and construction industry, we support other industries on the island, other service industries with various solutions. We were invited a couple of years ago to a pre-launch event with the French embassy. Mm-hmm. And one of the presenters, one of their sponsors was one of our major service station partners in Jamaica. At this time, we had already started presenting and quoting solutions for the service station, for the group. And we were not having the kind of success that we anticipated would have had. We went intentionally to meet with this organization at that French embassy event. And so we didn't know who was going to present, but we saw who presented. We believe he was a decision maker. And afterwards, there was a kind of social setting where you'd go and do chit chat, etc. And we seized that opportunity as the room went to the person who we believe was a decision maker and engaged him in a conversation. And then we went for the jugular, so to speak. And we said pretty much to him, listen, we are quoting your company on generators. We're not having the kind of success we're anticipating. And he said, why not? We haven't bought them as yet. Let's have a meeting. Out of that meeting, we won the business, sold a number of generators, start offering generator solutions to the other major service stations on the island, and became an affiliate member of the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association.
Wow.
So now, pretty much, if not all, most major gasoline retailers on the island look to Sesco Limited for their power generator solutions.
Wow. No, that is what you call, you've just even done an elevator pitch, you know. You think you're easy, you're not easy at all. I'm sure a lot of people in this room now knows what is it Sesco? Can you spell that for us? Sesco, right? Those. Dwight, are you hearing?
Right, so it's Sesco Limited.
Mm-hmm.
And we're located at 1A Mullines Road in Kingston, Jamaica.
Right, good. So I'm saying, Dwight, you've just done an elevator pitch about Sesco.
That was intentional.
Exactly my point, and it's unintentional. So that's what I'm talking about. When you practice what you do, and so you just reel it off your tongue. And what you are doing is sharing an example. But an opportunity came out as well for you to share about your company. So I'm sure now people would have learned a lot from that example that you just shared. And that's what we talk about. That's what I'm talking about when we say, you know, working the room. So thank you very much for that, Dwight. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to share an example before we another example before we close out? As entrepreneurs, you know, listen, and leaders and CEOs, and we have to be willing to speak out. As I said to you, don't think that you're enough. Let me tell you, especially if you're the one being tasked with the vision, you have to carry that. You have to be willing to speak up and take opportunities. Yes, Jermaine, go ahead. Then let us be enough in this room. Go ahead, Jermaine.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. My name is Jermaine Peart. Yes, I'm a female. There's a story behind it. Hello?
Yes, I said thank you for that. Go ahead.
And I do use it as a conversation starter when I am working the room. My story takes a different terms. There are some similarities, but if you relate to it, hold on to it and apply to what you have to do. So I am a digital marketer specializing in social media marketing. I have worked with brands like the Jamaica Observer. I have had the privilege of learning and growing and learning to be humble in that premise. So my example came from, or my moment came where I served as a volunteer with the Optimist International Caribbean District, and I had left because I thought it was time, you know, I've served my time, I created value, there are other things I can focus on. And that's another thing, guys. Don't feel like you have to hold on to some things. If you feel like you're outgrown the space, it's okay to walk away, because then you're unable to grow and expand how you should. In that moment, I was thinking of how I could provide training services as a social media marketer. And on that very day, I was actually in an iCreate session because iCreate was providing information on digital marketing, their courses that they had. And I left. I was at AC Hotel. I left, went into the main area and saw two of my friends. The one friend is in charge of finance for the said Optimist International. The other was the governor at the time. So you say, you know what, let me not keep it to myself, let me present. So I said, hey, I'm outside, I'm doing my own thing, but still, what do you think about creating a training session for our volunteers at the club level on an international level in which we can say, hey, the benefits of social media for volunteers, how can we help to make our NGOs grow? No, show the idea, talking about all sorts of things about life and whatever. Couple months after, I received a message from that said governor saying, hey, Jermaine, we're actually having last quarter conference. We're trying to finish strong. What do you think about creating a training session that people can join on virtually, in which you talk about social media for volunteers? How can we finish strong? Let me know what you think about it. So said, I created the plan, created the lesson plan, presented my PowerPoint, and it was actually one of the largest sessions for the day.
Wow.
So, and through that, I'm now in the process of creating a lesson plan, which allows for the year, the incoming president to go through and actually train from the club to the regional level. So let's see how that goes.
Nice. Very good, Jermaine. What's the name of your company or the organization?
Right, the name of my company is the Creative Willow.
The Creative?
Willow, W-I-L-L-O-W.
O-W, Willow. Okay, thank you so much for that, Jermaine. Over to you, Andrea, with your example.
Okay, so afternoon again, everyone. So just a little background. So my company is called Valentine's Intimate. So we provide personalized measurements and fitting for women, especially women who are struggling to find their right bra size. So I have been looking to expand to a new store location. And a friend of mine had sent me a pop-up for Jamaica Bridal Expo that was happening in Montego Bay. Now, I don't know Montego Bay. I have no family relationships there. And so I did not know how to go about getting that store. And I went to the expo, and while I was serving a customer and just ensuring that she had the right fit, we did her measurements. She now felt so much comfortable in her undergarment to get the right size bra. She was there, we were talking, and she said to me, you know, I'm a realtor, because I asked her, so what do you do, while we were having the conversation and getting to know her. And she mentioned that she was a realtor. And it so happened, she said to me that, you know, I actually have a store that is available at a very, very high traffic location. And I said, really? I'm actually looking for an additional store. So the following day, I went to the store, and that was in September 10th of this year. And yesterday, I got the lease agreement for the property, and there were several persons that were interested in the property. And because of that interaction that I had with her, she pushed my name forward for the store location. And I'm very happy to say that I'm now going to open a new branch in Montego Bay because of that interaction with that customer.
Look at that, Andrea, talking about work in the room. I am very happy for you, and I hope you'll be able to maintain that relationship and take your business to the next level, all of you. I am very, very happy to hear the stories, the examples that are being shared. It means that people are already working the room and understand how to work the room. And for those of you who perhaps this is still a little bit new, or you're still trying to get comfortable, you hear from people who have started from humble beginnings like myself, don't have any contacts, don't know anybody, and perhaps just because of my ability to recognize opportunities, you know, have open dialogue, offer value. I believe in offering value, because CTEC even started out with me being able to offer value, because I started with another partner, my international partners in Seattle, ITEC. And that is how, because I offered them so much value, I was able to spin off into CTEC, and they are still part of I'm still part of their network, and I continue to maintain that relationship. Kenil, I see your hand is up. I'll allow you to go with your example.
Hello?
Yes.
Good morning. So my name is Kenny Lewis, founder and owner of JBDC, where we design, marketing, and branding.
Kenny, we're still struggling to hear you though, Kenny. Is it possible for you to go into a more quiet space where it sounds like you're walking?
1 moment.
We're really not hearing you. Don't know if anybody else wants to. Yeah, man, perfect. Go ahead. Much better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Kenny Lewis, owner and founder of Games.com, where we do design, marketing, and branding. You have a vision, we help you make it great. That's one of our pitch. So we don't have one for everybody, but our pitch change, but in the situation. So we
Kenny, your internet is very spotty. I apologize, but with the I know others are on. I'm just going to find out if anybody else wants to share before we wrap up. I know Kenny is still trying to come through, but it has been difficult. Are you having the same issue on your end, Dwight, or anybody hearing Kenny? Or is it just me?
I'm not hearing him well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Something in the chat. Let me pull that up.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Gamesley, we design, market, and brand. Let us help you make your vision a reality. Well, make your vision great. That's one of his pitch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, thank you for that, Kenil. Sorry we can't hear you. I see Julie hand this up. Go ahead, Julie. Open your mic.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Julie Colton. I'm the accounting manager at Precision Accounting and Business Consultancy Services. We offer outsourced accounting to small and medium-sized companies, as well as internal audit and external audit services. Well, my example, I want to agree with you where you said, when you go into a space, ensure you sound interesting in what the persons are saying, what they have to offer. Because I found that at the last expo, and we're going around introducing ourselves, but sometimes it's good to really listen to what people have to say. And there was this particular booth I went to, and the persons were quite engaging and selling their services. And, you know, I had our business card, I had my business card, and so I was able to issue my business card and to collect their business card too. But the persons that were at the expo were not the decision makers. And so I was able to obtain the business card for a decision maker. And so I gave the person a call. And the first thing I did was to compliment her on her staff, how they were able to sell the company at the expo. And that was a genuine comment. That was a genuine compliment. And because of that compliment, it really set the person at ease. And the person listened to what I had to say when I called, and we were able to go in and to introduce our services to them and get businesses from them. So I'm saying that sometimes it's just sounding interesting in what persons have to say, not just wanting to sell what you have, but that can open the door.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that, Julie. And that's what I've been saying, you know, that it can't be just about your interest and even though that's, yes, at the end of the day, what you really want from the partnership is to grow your business. You want that potential partner to either support or purchase something from you or partner with you to expand. However, you know the long-term plan, but never going with just your interest to just sell something to come out the room quickly. You know, as you said, develop a relationship, cultivate it. You know, as I said before, you recognize a potential partner, have the open dialogue and show that you're interested in what they're offering. Say yes, while you talk about yourself and your company as well. Always show that you can offer value, you know, not just to what can I get from you? That's something that I see we do all the time. When I step into a room, oh, what can I get? What can you do for me? And it's sometimes you may have to give a little bit in order to get something. So maybe give something free. That's a good strategy. Sometimes if you're, for example, if you're in the business of selling courses, maybe give away a short course or a lot of, you can develop quick, very useful ebooks nowadays. Maybe, you know, sell something and then, so you offer some value and then you can see in return what you will get from that. And of course, as I said, it's important to maintain the relationship. So in recognizing, opening, offering and maintaining so in recognizing a partner, having open dialogue, offering value and maintaining relationships, you can effectively work any room, build lasting partnerships, and propel your business to new heights. So at this time, I'm going to ask you to reflect on potential partners, or if you're new, or even if you're a seasoned person working the room, reflect on the potential partners that you would like to approach. And even in this very room that we're sitting in, even though it's an online room, there are a lot of online rooms now available like these, thanks to COVID, who has really propelled us to the virtual space. Thank you so much for your time, but remember to utilize this room approach into full action. Take the opportunities when they come and build lasting relationships. I think this is the end of the presentation. If there are other questions, comments, anything you'd like to share, please do so now before I hand back over to the moderator. And I know some people might be saying, I see Andrea hand raised, let me just finish this quick point, might be saying, boy, like, you know, they heard CTEC is amassing revenue of 2.8 billion Jamaican dollars, and you just started 3 years ago. We may have officially started 3 years ago, but we had partnerships from before. So what we've done is leverage those partnerships into the new startup CTEC in order to, so luckily we never had to necessarily start from scratch, because we had relationships being built from our previous, from our partners before. And what we've done is capitalized on those. But you can't do that if you burn your bridges. You leave a company and you decide to tell them off. And just start your own, when what you could have done is benefited from that company by saying, you know, I'm going to start my own. I feel like, you know, I've been led purposefully to start my own business. How can we continue to partner? Sometimes you do that instead of cursing off the people and leave and go start your own thing. You could be benefiting from them. And so you don't have to navigate the space all alone, like a loner. You know, lone soldiers, as I said, die. Lone rangers die. So if you have a partnership that you can capitalize on, please, that's the best approach to propel your business. Andrea, your point before I hand over. Thank you.
So thanks for sharing, Natalie. I really enjoyed your session. Just two quick ones. So for small, medium businesses that they want to also invest in training their staff so that their staff can grow as well, is that something your company offers? So that's one, to just get clarification. And then two, in terms of, I know you mentioned earlier that the person went and looked on your profile. You did not say which profile. Was that your LinkedIn profile?
Oh, actually, the person who recommended us, what you call that when you start following? He started following me on Twitter. So I saw that, and then he started following me on Instagram. In my Instagram personal page, I have CTEC website on it as well. So I don't remember if the person went on my LinkedIn, so that particular person, but I know the person who he would have referred us to went on the LinkedIn, because I saw them, I saw that they viewed my profile on LinkedIn. So it's not the immediate person that I met at the conference who went on my LinkedIn. The person actually just started following me on Twitter and Instagram. But right. I am very strategic. CTEC is set up on that, so that if you want to look for me personally, you still find CTEC. You know, because at the end of the day, I keep that in mind, that people are actually using your profiles. So you have to be very strategic in setting those up to benefit your company.
Okay, thank you. And then in terms of, so, you know, where you want to look for training for your staff, like on emotional intelligence, for example.
Mm-hmm. We do not have a course like that now. Most of our courses that we're offering now on our learning management system are actually health-related courses. So, you know, around chronic care disease, chronic care model management, those kind of things, project management in health, monitoring and evaluation, leadership and management in health. So, because we are a health-focused organization, but you can have you're actually giving me an idea, Andrea. Emotional intelligence is any area, so that's actually a good area for us to look at. So thank you for that. Really appreciate your feedback. I really appreciate that.
Okay, all right, but you don't know anyone that currently offers emotional intelligence based in Jamaica?
I don't know if the person is based in Jamaica, but I saw something recently, so I'm going to check on that. Just leave you want to, I'm gonna leave at least you can get in touch with me. I'm gonna just send my my contact in the chat in case you want to get in touch with me personally so we can. I'm working the room as I speak. You can stay there. That's me. All right. So I think we've covered everything. I'm not seeing any other question. Thank you so much, Andrea. You've been a good participant.
Thank you. It's definitely my pleasure. Have a good one.
Yes, same to you. That's my phone number and email address if you want to get in touch, WhatsApp or, call me. So over to you. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. Really appreciate that you've stayed on for the time. I saw people on about 50 of us until late. We only have, a few minutes to go, but really appreciate the time. Back over to you now. Moderator, I see Audrey Cole Crossdale. Audrey, I know you from online, you're one of my LinkedIn friends. I offer training in emotional intelligence, Bethel Truth Global Institute. See it there? That's another potential partnership right there, Andrea. So get in touch with Audrey. Audrey has some nice things on LinkedIn. I follow her as well. We're actually friends on LinkedIn. So thank you. Yes, back in the day, Audrey, yes, from HIV days and those programs at Ministry of Health. Yeah, man, I know you from somewhere else other than LinkedIn. Yes, thank you so much, Audrey. All right, over to you now, colleague. And people are putting their information in the chat. So let's continue to work this room.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for this engaging and interactive presentation. I know we learned a lot today and we'll definitely be working in the room to the R. And remember, guys, the feedback form is in the chat. You can go ahead, comment on your thoughts about this presentation and how we can improve going forward. And remember, our next session is on October the 24th, niche versus mass, knowing which is best for your business. You don't want to miss that. And this session is definitely recorded and will be available on YouTube at JBDC Jamaica. And highlights from this session will be on our social media pages on IG and Facebook at JBDC Jamaica. Thank you so much for joining today, and we look forward to seeing many of you in our sessions going forward. Have a great day.